Hello listeners and viewers. Welcome to Kaduna State Ministry of Education Radio and TV e-learning program designed for our SS3 and other students staying at home due to the coronavirus pandemic. The present administration, under the able leadership of His Excellency, Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, is positioned as always to ensure that under his leadership, our students are not left behind in all areas of human endeavors, especially education. Kaduna State is the center of learning. Therefore, we want to ensure that our students excel in their forthcoming examinations and beyond. Students and other learners at home are given this opportunity in order to continue learning, as education is a continuous process. Different subjects will be taught in this program to assist students to perform excellently in the forthcoming Senior School Certificate examination being conducted by NECO and WAEC as soon as schools reopen. Teachers making presentations will always provide their names and phone numbers during each presentation, and they can be contacted for questions, further explanations, and/or clarifications. The following numbers and contacts can also be reached for expression of any concern or observation: 090-865-00545 or 080-383-62072. Our website is www.education.kdsg.gov.ng. Our email education@kdsg.gov.ng or education.kdsg@gmail.com. Our YouTube channel, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Our Twitter handle @Kaduna_MOE. Or our Facebook page, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Stay safe, stay at home, and learn well. Thank you, happy listening, and happy viewing.
Hello listeners at home. You are welcome once again to Kaduna State Ministry of Education e-learning. My name is Obangozi Gloria. You are welcome to home management class. And today the topic we shall be discussing on is on flour. And then our course outline is introduction, definition of flour, low extraction rate flour, high extraction rate flour, advantages and disadvantages of low extraction rate flour, non-wheat flour, uses of flour in cookery, summary and assignment. Flour mixture and confectionery are products made from flour. We do eat cake, we eat donuts, but have we wondered how these are made? They are made with flour, with the addition of other ingredients for what? Enrichment. To make it what? Rich, as in the value, enriching the value, and then leavening using a raising agent and enhanced flavor. What do we mean by flour? We have come to the market, or we've been to the market, we see so many things grounded, but we don't know actually what they are. What is flour? The term flour refers to the powder derived from grounded cereals. Flour, the powder derived from what? Grounded cereals and wheat. Not only grounded cereals and wheat, from also other what? Food items like banana. We make our flour from there, from coconut, from cassava, from cocoyam, from millet, corn, and sorghum. So when we talk of flour, they are powder derived from grounded cereal, which are cassava, corn, yam, plantain, rice, cocoyam, and so on. We can convert or make so many things into powder. Wheat flour. Wheat is usually milled into flour before prepared as food. Yes, the wheat we have, they are usually what? Grinded, prepared. During the process of milling, the whole wheat grain can be used to obtain the flour, or the various layers that surround the endosperm can be removed before the remainder is milled into powdered form. What do I mean by that? When we take our wheat to be grinded, some passes what? Processes, so many processes. Some you can just wash, pick, and grind. Some you do what? You wash, you pick, you mill, and you grind. These are level of what? Grinding and milling. Now, the proportion of the whole grain that is utilized is known as extraction rate of flour. How do I mean by that? The proportion, that is, depending on the part that is removed and the part that is retained, will give you what? The main proportion, which is known as what? Extraction rate. So what is extraction rate? Extraction rate therefore refers to the proportion of the original grain in the flour. As I said initially, if I should take my corn to the mill, maybe from the home, I have picked it from dirt, I have washed and dried and taken it to the mill and just asked them to grind. The level is different from the one I have taken. It has been milled, that is by polishing the outer surface. After polishing the outer surface, then we blend or we grind. There are different. So what do we mean by low extraction rate flour? This is the flour which almost all the layers, almost all the outer layers have been what? Removed before the final milling. When all these outer layers are removed, they are known as what? Low extraction rate flour. If I will take it and then in the milling place, when we take our flour or our wheat to be milled, and then the outer part is removed, is polished. I'm sorry to say that most of the outer layers contain the B complex vitamins, the B1, the B2, the B12. But in the process of milling, these outer parts are removed and given to goats to eat. And we are eating only what? Sugar and starch. So low extraction rate flour is the flour which almost all the outer layers of the endosperm have been removed before the final milling. While high, from the word high extraction rate flour, is the what? Is the flour that almost all the parts are retained. They are rich in nutrients. They contain what? Vitamins. They contain what? Protein. That is high extraction rate flour. It's the flour that has just a little of hyaluron layer, while the other parts and layers are retained. They are intact. They have not been removed. Now, advantages of low extraction rate flour. Yes, we have the advantages of low extraction rate flour. They are white. That is what most of our women say. That if you take your corn to the mill and they are just washed and milled, that it is not white. They want to see it white. Yes, it will be white, but you are not eating anything. You are not getting any nutrient from it. Only what you are getting is what? Sugar. Contains less fat because most of it has been milled out. Most of it has been polished and taken out. They are therefore less likely to go rancid and can be preserved easily. Because most of the parts have been removed, these parts will not be what? Go rancid. What is rancidity? This is the spoilage of food that contains what? Fat. So as much as the low extraction rate flour, it has less fat, so it's what? Less likely to go rancid. And you can preserve it what? Easily. They contain less phytic acid. What do we mean by phytic acid? Phytic acid is an anti-nutrient. What do I mean by anti-nutrient? It is against the nutrient. It is working against the eater. So it contains less. Most of it has been what? Milled off. Have better uniform baking quality. Yes, from this low extraction rate, we have a better uniform baking qualities. Mostly, it is what? The bakers like it because it is white and it has what? Uniform baking qualities. And the last one is what? They are easily absorbed. Yes, whatever you are using it for, it's what? It gets easily absorbed. Now, disadvantages of low extraction rate flour. Anything that has advantage is most likely to have what? Disadvantage. Contains less of the B complex vitamins. We should not allow our food to be polished, our wheat to be polished, our corn to be polished. What do I mean by polishing? Once you take it to the mill, before you take it to the mill, pick out the stones, wash it, dry it, take it to be grinded. It should not be milled. Milling means what? Removal of the outer layer. This outer layer contains the B complex vitamin. the B1, which is the thiamine, the B2, which is the riboflavin. So once they are milled off, we are eating nothing, just sugar. So contains less of the B complex vitamins. They contain less calcium and iron. From the wheat, they are milled off. So they contain less calcium and iron. Contains less protein, that is gluten. But this is beneficial to bread bakers because the dough rises easily and is firm to touch. As I told us initially, that the bakers like this because it is what? Easily manageable. It contains what? Less protein, and their bread or baked products will not go rancid easily. And it's equally firm to touch. And they contain less fiber. What do we mean by fiber? Fiber helps the food we eat to digest. And when a food does not contain fiber, there will be a problem. So for the disadvantage of low extraction rate flour, it contains what? Less fiber. Now we have types and qualities of what? Wheat flour. Number one, we have whole wheat flour. From the word whole wheat flour, it means that it is intact. Little or no part of it has been milled off. So we say it contains all the natural constituents in the flour, in the wheat. Has high fat content. And with this high fat content, it is proved to rancidity, spoilage. It will spoil easily. And cannot stand long period of storage because of what? The fat content. So number one, we have whole wheat flour. Number two, we have what? All-purpose flour. This from the word all-purpose, it is good for all cookery in the home. It is granular when you rub it in between the what? In between the hands. That is for all-purpose flour. It is good for all cookery purposes. Number three, we have instant blending flour. From the word instant blending flour, it has uniform particle size and it is free-flowing, does not require pre-sifting. You don't need to sieve, and it disperses quickly in cold water. It mixes easily. Instant blending, it blends easily without waste of time. Then we have self-raising flour. From the word self-raising flour, this is the flour that contains what? Some salt and soda, which causes it to rise itself without adding any leavening or raising agent. From the word self-raising flour, it contains salt, ingredients, and baking powder. It can rise without the addition of a raising agent and not used for making bread. Why did I say it is not good for making bread? Because it contains what? Soda and salt. And for bread, we use what? Yeast in the production of bread and not baking powder or baking soda. It is not used equally as a thickening agent in soup and sauces. Then number five, we have cake flour. This cake flour is what? It's low in protein content. White and fine when rubbed in between the fingers. And when it is used in baking cake, it holds the shape. And so it holds the shape when pressed lightly. It does not scatter easily. Then number six, we have what? Pastry cake. These are for making pastries, for cookies, and so on. And it is made from a soft wheat. Number seven, we have what? Hard wheat flour. From the word hard wheat flour, has a higher protein. It's just like the whole wheat flour. It has a higher protein content and is good for what? Bread making. We have soft wheat flour, has soft talcum. It feels like powder in between the hands. It is not granular, it is softer, just feels like powder that is rubbed on the body, and is good for cakes, for pastries, for cookies, and crackers. Then we have composite flour. This composite flour is a mixture of two or more flours together. I can decide to bake with what? Cassava flour and wheat flour. I can decide to bake with what? Banana flour and what? Cocoyam flour. So it is composite flour. Mixture of two or more flours in what? Specific ratio. Then we have, it is used in baking. Examples are corn flour with what? Wheat flour. or cassava flour with what? Wheat flour. All these are what? Examples of composite flour. Now we have non-wheat flour. When we talk of non-wheat flour, we have mentioned the types of flour, wheat flour, we use in pastries and confectionaries. Number 1, we started with what? Whole wheat flour. Number 2, we said we have what? Self-raising flour. A flour that rises on itself without being what? Without adding any baking powder or baking soda. Then we also have what? Cake flour. We also have what? Instant blending flour. We also have pastry flour. We also have soft wheat flour. All these are what? Gotten from wheat, specifically from wheat, and they are used for what? Pastries and what? Confectionaries. Now we go to non-wheat flour. There are other food substances that we can get our flour from. These are produced from other food apart from wheat. Like I can what? Mill my corn into a flour. And this corn is not only what? Used for cooking, it's also used in pastries and confectionaries. I have my rice, which can be grounded into flour. I also have beans flour, banana flour, potato flour, plantain flour, cassava flour, millet, coconut, and so on. These are known as non-wheat flour, which can also be used in baking, which can also be used in cooking at home. Now we go to what? The uses of wheat in cookery. Yes, in home management and food and nutrition, we are so much in love with flour because we can use flour into what? So many food. We can turn them into so many foods, confectionaries and pastries. Number 1, they can be used for baking confectionaries and what? Pastries, like our cake, our buns, our donuts, and so on. Coating food as in what? Batter. We use flour to coat food. What are the reasons for using a flour to coat food? This flour is turned into a batter. What do I mean by batter? B-A-T-T-E-R. When a flour is mixed with small quantity of water, we have a thick consistency that is having a batter. Then you dip whatever food you want to cook, like example your fish, into the batter and then fry it. That is to coat it to prevent it from what? Breaking or scattering in oil. That is, it is used for coating as a batter. Now, number 3, we have what? Used as a whole meal. Yes, we have cornmeal. We have semolina pudding. They can be used as a whole meal in cookery. We have whole wheat bread, which we can use with our tea. Then we have used as a thickening agent. Yes, women cook soup at home and they need a thickener in their soup because once their food turns watery, their soup, it is not easy to manage. But once you have a thickener in form of what? Either cocoyam, flour, or flour, what? For soup, you add them and then your soup does what? Thickens. For the production of pastas and noodles, all these noodles we eat, our semolina, our spaghetti, indomie, noodles, all these are made with what? Flour. Then they are used for making or producing infants' food. Infants' food like what? Custard, even pap. You can grind your pap, dry it, and then what? Use it for feeding infants. And also making of what? Production of what? Custard. Then we have the summary. As we have known that the term flour is derived from grounded cereals. And we said that it is not only cereals or wheat that we what? That we get our flour from. That there are other non-wheat flours that we get and we use them in our food. So now, as we have known that it is flour powder derived from grounded cereals, which are used in pastries and confectionaries. There are wheat flours and non-wheat flours. And what are these wheat flours? We have what? Our instant blending flours. We have our whole wheat flour. We have our cake flour. We have our pastry flour. We have our soft wheat flour. And then we also have the non-wheat flours, which we can also turn into what? Flour. These days we can get plantain, you dry it, and then you take it to the mill and grind it. What do you have? You have plantain flour. I can get my rice, wash, take it to the mill, grind it, and then I have my what? Rice flour. They are not actually wheat, but they are what? Grounded into what? Powder, which is known as also what? Flour. Wheat flours are derived from wheat, while non-wheat flours are derived from what? Other food apart from wheat, such as millet, coconut, and beans, and so on. Now, from the lesson learned so far, we have seen the types of flour and the qualities derived from what? From flour. What do we have? I'm going to give you an assignment to keep you busy. We are going to differentiate between low extraction rate flour and high extraction rate flour. In our lesson, I told you that low extraction rate flour, from the word low, are those flours that are milled which contains little or no natural constituents in them. All the parts, outer part has been milled off, leaving only what? The starch. That is low extraction rate flour. But this low extraction rate flour has its advantage and disadvantage. The advantage is that the food or the flour will be white in color. It does not go rancid easily. Why? Because the fat constituent has been milled off during the processing. And also it also lasts longer. You can keep it for a longer period of time because it's not going to spoil easily. But the disadvantage is that the constituent, the natural constituent has been what? Has been removed. It contains little or no B-complex vitamin. It contains little or no calcium or iron in it. And it is also what does not contain fiber, which helps the food in digestion. And then I'm going to leave you with an assignment. You are going to differentiate between low extraction rate flour and high extraction rate flour. Then number B, write 2 advantages and disadvantages of low extraction rate flour. I have told you the advantages and then disadvantages of the low and the high extraction rate flour. And I am leaving you with an advice that once we take our food to the mill, we should not remove or polish the outer surface, because there lies all the natural constituents. So number 1 again, differentiate between low extraction rate flour and high extraction rate flour. B, write 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of low extraction rate flour. And then number 2, write 4 examples of non-wheat flour. I take the assignment again. Number 1, A, differentiate between low extraction rate flour and high extraction rate flour. B, write 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of low extraction rate flour. Number 2, write 4 examples of non-wheat flour. My name remains Obangozi Gloria. If you have any question, you call me on this number 0806 594 5214. Wash your hands regularly, stay safe, and keep learning. My name remains Obangozi Gloria. Till we meet again, keep learning and keep safe.